Good morning. Starting with our disclaimer, I am not a financial advisor. Nothing in this video is financial advice or a recommendation to buy or sell any financial product. All content is for informational purposes only based on personal opinions and experiences. Trading futures, options, and other financial instruments involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for every investor. You can lose more than your initial investment, so always do your own research and consult with a licensed financial professional. Okay. Sorry again if there's some background noise. I have the fan off today, but I got the window open, so if any big cars drive by, it may make some noise. But as for news today, basically all Fed speakers. There's 9 Fed speakers speaking today, or I guess some twice, but 9 separate Fed meetings or Fed speeches. So guess they need to ingrain it that we don't want to drop interest rates yet. That seems to be the message, basically. So yeah. So other than that, and probably not too significant for us because, yes, it is important, but it's less important now that we've moved out of the interest rate regime. So we were just in an interest rate regime where we're very focused on inflation, right? The markets are very focused on inflation, and news in regards to inflation and interest rates is very important. But we've moved out of that, and we're more so in a volatility regime now, where it's less emphasis, on interest rates and inflation metrics, and you're looking more at jobs and work and that kind of stuff. So could be important, but probably not too moving at least. Like maybe some flurries, but yeah, I don't think anything major. As for our pre-market sheet, we're in a big gap higher. My charts look pretty messy this morning, I must say. What I'm going to do actually, sorry, one sec. All right, there, that looks better. So yes, pre-market sheet. So we're still one time framing lower on the weekly time frame, so that's still preserved. Looks like we've got prior week highs still way up here, so it's probably going to be preserved at least for this week. Just because today's Friday, obviously, so that's a big range for one day, but not impossible. And then daily is still nothing, but we are opening in a pretty big imbalance condition. As you can see, we're in a pretty large gap higher. So I'll go into more detail, but this could end up being a good day, I guess. So yeah, there's obviously no overlap or out of balance. There was no gap yesterday. Like I said, the swing high is pretty all right. Volume profile excess is pretty weak. As for yesterday's profile, we've got a really nice excess low, but again, pretty weak high. Yeah, I said we're bringing value higher, pretty steadily here. As for key levels, I've got overnight high above us, double TPO high above us. These two, naked settle, naked VPOX, both above. And anything above, what high was this? Anything above the double TPO high is gap. From 6115 to 6148 is a small gap that we need to close up in the RTH range. But yeah, other than that, there's not too much. We've got some singles above us and some other, I guess, poor structure we need to fix up, but we haven't been here in a while, so there's not anything recent, at least, to go off of. As for below us, we've got, again, naked VPOC, naked settle down here from, I guess, a couple weeks ago. We've got yesterday's settle and overnight low and yesterday's high, which all pretty much line up. And then we've got overnight VPOC, which, again, in today's case, could be important. And that's the important stuff, at least. So going into the TPO, let me open up my EpicPen. So as you can see, like I say, this could be a good day because we've sort of broken out of this composite we were making. So we were sort of, some directional days, some not. But overall, we were contained within this range. And now, boom, we've finally broken above, right? So, good sign for potential directional moves today, right? You you were in balance and now you broke out, so now you're out of balance, right? Pretty clear, pretty straightforward. Um so yeah, so like if we end up with another sort of like gap and go type day, it could actually go, and end up with something like a trend day, where it just goes again. If we have the gap and revert, anything really below this 60-15 slash yesterday's high range, like if we get to settle, it's done. It's done. You've fallen back into balance. So if we're maintaining prices down here and we don't quickly reject them and bounce away, this move is done. It was, I guess maybe too preemptive, and we could end up just getting choppy back down here again. Potentially it reverts lower to check the other side, but so today could end up still being directional, but if we fall back like below settle pretty much, this long move is done. We could come back here, chop around again, and then break out again next week or, you know, whatever. But this one is done. And if you get back in here, you likely will, at some point at least, want to check the lower side, right? So you could end up seeing that occur over the next few days if that were to happen. So basically, yeah. So basically, gap and go, gap pull back, close the gap, and then pulls back and continues, and the actual gap and revert, where we fall back in, we start trading below settle, and we start exploring lower prices, potentially getting choppy. Those are the three main scenarios for me today, and that's usually roughly what I'm always looking for in a gap day. Like, I'd say these two are the most common, the gap and revert and then the gap pullback. Like, I find at least you don't get gap and goes that much, but you did this week actually. This day, this was a gap and go day. So you gapped, you opened in a gap higher, and you just went. You didn't even attempt to close the gap. But they don't happen that frequently. So I sort of just weight them equally in terms of the prep because, yeah, they all could happen and they're all plausible, very plausible in gap days. And we also have sort of the nothing scenario where we maybe attempt to close the gap, but we can't close the full thing, but then we can't really extend highs, and then we can't, we sort of just fill in here. We do have a nice belly from this day, so there was acceptance here before, and so potentially there could be acceptance there again. But yeah, that's really the main stuff. I'll quickly look at the 30-minute because overnight VPOC could be important. Looks like we just brought it up. But again, gap and go and gap and revert days or scenarios, VPOC sometimes plays a role in that with the sort of impulse, quick check, and go. And on the other side, impulse, quick check, and go. Right? So those are definitely possible today. Really, no matter where the VPOC is, you really just want to see a impulsive move away from the VPOC. That's what I look for. If you get that, and then you get a good price action setup that seems to show that VPOC is holding, I'll take it. Because it's always a scalp trade, so it's always tight. But yeah, that one sometimes works out in gap days as well. So, yeah, really, other than that, looks like we got all the main stuff. I don't think I need to go into any more detail necessarily. Yeah, really just looking for pullbacks. That's what I'm looking for at least. So we've got down to settle. Okay, so you've got naked settle, naked VPOC, overnight high, double TPO high, double TPO high slash overnight VPOC, and then you've got yesterday's high gap close settle overnight. Sorry about that. I was very rudely interrupted. Anyway, I just typed everything out. So you've got settle overnight low, yesterday's high all clustered in here. You've got naked VPOC, naked settle in here, double TPO, overnight VPOC, overnight high, and then the naked stuff up here as extended targets. So yeah, as for the gap and go day, like I said, a nice impulse. Whoops, that's skinny. A nice impulse away from overnight VPOC, pulls back, holds, continues. That'd be the cleanest in my eyes. Gap and go type of move. Impulse test, like whether you break overnight high or not, it doesn't really matter on the first push, as long as you're continuing either way, right? Not getting it on the first push could indicate some weakness, so it's probably more ideal for a gap and go that you do break overnight high on that first push, but that's, context dependent, because that's like if we open here, if we end up opening lower down here and we have an impulsive move up, then it's different, right? But yeah, so an impulsive move away from overnight VPOC that breaks overnight high. If we're maintaining prices above overnight high, I'm pretty much just looking zone to zone. You've got naked stuff and poor structure all the way above, pretty much like I said. So all of that can be just checked and but really I'm just looking for continuation zone to zone if we are above overnight high and maintaining it, right? So, I mean, overnight high really is the only major resistance that's currently above us. Like these naked VPOC, naked settles, I don't think will be too important, but they could, So, as for bearish scenario, similar would be the most ideal. Like I said, impulse away from VPOC, pulls back, continues, goes for half gap, goes for this naked stuff down here, and then full gap next. If you get full gap, like I said, this is sort of do or die for the longs then if you get down to the gap close area. Because if you don't get support in here, then yeah, like I said, the long move is done. And we likely continue lower, potentially balancing out down here, potentially moving towards the lower side of that composite range that I showed you. So then, yeah, this is key support. And really, that's pretty much it, right? Like, naked VPOCs probably won't pose any major support. So yeah, like that's literally it. Like, these are more just targets, like could potentially be important in the sense of if you can get through them. But actually, shouldn't those ones be gone? Oh no. No, they shouldn't. They shouldn't be gone. So potentially I'll draw it because these ones were pretty lonesome, and so these two could end up showing some interest in this area because that's the value area of the double TPO day that I showed before. But yeah, let me just take a picture because that's pretty much it. Okay, so here's final look at the plan. Pretty simple. Like I said, my gap day scenarios are really consistent most of the time. I'm usually looking always for the same things on gap days, and in the same areas, just in relation to, I guess, the distance of the gap. So yeah, that's pretty much the plan for today. I know I didn't go through my end of day again yesterday. I did have one trade yesterday that also was a full stop. I was getting pretty annoyed by these full stops, and so I didn't feel like doing the video, to be frank, to be honest. I was just kind of annoyed. I didn't feel like recording them. But maybe tomorrow. I work tonight at my other job, so maybe tomorrow I'll go through and just go through both of them, sort of like a weekend trade summary. But yeah, I'll go through them at some point. this weekend, and I'll upload that here. So you'll see those. And yeah, if I do end up having a trade today, I may be able to squeeze it in before I work, but I may just add it to that weekend video. So we'll see. But either way, I'll be back here Monday morning. So I'll see you then.